Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We are back with Coach Jamaal Cottrell, better known as Coach Trell. That's what they call him, as a trainer, as a speaker, and of course, with all the work he does to help so many. We are joined again by him today to talk about three very important topics. So, from limitlessleadsteaching.com or realorlive.org, he joins us here today live. How are you doing today, Trell?
Hey, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm feeling limitless, feeling free. Had a good Mother's
That's
Day
awesome.
weekend. I appreciate you asking. Tell us a little bit about Limitless Leads Coaching and the work you do, if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely. So we're doing executive coaching, business coaching, and a little bit of life coaching, trying to get out there and give out some positive energy, some positive vibes, and find a way to help people develop and become the best version of themselves.
How do we reach you?
You can reach me at www.realorlive.org. You can find me on social media platforms at Trailblaze and also on Minnect. Just recently signed up for Minnect, so that's something pretty cool. Another avenue to kind of reach out and give a little bit of advice to.
Beautiful. And you're working with so many people. And by the way, who is the clientele? What age? What sex? Who are we working with here? What age range?
Age ranges from 13 till until you want to continue to until you've reached the full potential that you have. No limitations on how old, starting as young as 13, 14, right at that age where you kind of want to figure out what you want to do when you grow up and who you want to be. Try to help you get on those track and get you along the line. So free to work with anybody and that's willing to become, again, better version of themselves.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about today about mindset shift. And first and foremost, what is mindset? And, you hear a lot about mindset. I don't know if we really understand what it is. And then we'll talk about the shift involved.
Okay, mindset, overcoming adversity and bouncing back stronger, having a strong mindset, a sense of well-being and who you are. Some of the things that comes with the mindset is, like you said, the mindset shift is basically you want to be able to replace your dysfunctional beliefs, some of the things that you may have been taught throughout your experiences or just from different backgrounds of people that you've been around, beliefs that as you've grown productive throughout your age, and you want to change those options and consider the best version of your identity that you possibly can.
Now, when people say mindset and to change that mindset, so we're going to shift from a negative mindset to a positive mindset. Is that the shift that we're kind of talking about?
Yeah, so let's just say if that you're in a place and you can't figure out why that you're feeling the way that you're feeling. You may be feeling down, the weather's kind of gloomy, and it may be a negative mindset that you're in. It doesn't always have to be negative, but it can be a negative mindset. And you just want to kind of figure out a way to do some self-evaluating
Okay.
and shift that mindset. So yeah, absolutely. We can start with the negative mindset.
And how are you doing this? I mean, how does I know it's complicated. I might not have enough time to talk about it, but how do you start?
Well, the first thing you can do is kind of emphasize the importance of reframing negative thoughts, practicing optimism, kind of stay away from self-sabotaging.
Mhm.
Instead of, identify the problem, something's wrong. Maybe not necessarily think that you're the problem, or some people may feel, well, some things always happen to me. What can go wrong will go wrong. We've always heard that. Kind of take a more of a positive outlook on life. Look at the situation as being the glass is half full versus half empty. You know what I mean? So those are the things that you kind of want to focus on. So if you got some spare time, you want to let's encourage everyone to practice gratitude, journaling daily. Write down some of those good things that happen versus always recapping on the bad things. At the end of the day, just sit down and say, what positive happened in my life today? What can I take from that?
Yeah.
Because everything is a teachable moment. So again, it's about perspective. So no matter what happens, keeping that positive mindset and figuring out what some of the lessons that can be taken away from this. And I think that would be a good start right there.
All right. Well, thanks for the tips there. And, with your work, you're guiding people obviously along the way all the time, to, better themselves, to improve themselves. And is there, with the limitless leads, is there any specific, how do I say this, programs that you recommend to start the mindset change or shift?
Yeah, absolutely. Can start with the 16 deniable laws of communication. That's a good start right there. Again, it's just identifying some steps that may be issues in the business that you're going through. And communication is always an important thing. That's one of the most important resources that it has. It's just kind of understanding,
Yeah,
why it's happening. And I think, again, it goes back to having that complete and total understanding of why something is happening. Then you can kind of okay, where to go from there once you identify that problem.
all right.
Some self-care practices is you
Oh
want to
yeah,
highlight the
self-care.
significance.
That's what we're talking about next. Go
Exactly.
for
There
it.
you go. Yeah. So some of those self-care practices, you want to highlight the significance of self-care and maintaining emotional well-being through tough times. So again, is if you go through some tough issues or times, again, just understand that it's not personal. Depending on what the situation, there's a cause and effect for everything. So depending on what the situation may be, some of the decisions you may have had may have caused to lead you to some of those issues where that you need to start looking into, self-care and self-care practices. So just take that opportunity to identify that, and I think we should be heading in the right direction.
And self-care is not selfish, right?
Absolutely
Some people like to say that, and I'm like, no, it's not.
not. Right.
And by the way, just a little bit about your background. You believe in the Maxwell Disc Method assessment. Could you just share a little bit about that? Because it becomes part of the coaching process, right? To work with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So um, basically, you want to receive a powerful insight into several important areas that capitalize off of your personal style. You want to you can be the D, the dominant, the driver, the I, the influencing or inspiring. You can be the S, the stable or steady person, and you can be the C, the compliant or the correct person. And the most important thing is, again, is just identifying those styles. And once you figure out your style and how you like to communicate and communicate it with, I think that'll just catapult you into those other directions of self-care practices that can help you out. And with that, a DISC assessment, it can lead it if because if you're doing that and you're in an environment where things may not seem like they're going as planned, this will help you when you start to search for that social support system. Because basically what you're doing is you're looking at the people around you, and you can't stress the impact of a strong
Yeah.
support network, especially when providing emotional comfort and practical help. So those are things and tools that can help you as far as for developing a strong support system and team.
And, give me some examples of self-care on your end. What would you describe self-care as?
Well, self-care can be do you so like for an example, when you don't when you're not when you're with the kids and you have some downtime, what ways do you go to relax or decompress? Would you say you work out, the walking?
Drive alone in the car. Yeah. Watch TV.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, those are
Getting
all
my
great
nails done to be
examples.
self-care, but some people might don't, everyone has their own definition, I guess. But yeah, mine is not walking, not working out. That's too painful. I like
Well,
being alone is something I like being alone, but it's very rare. So when I am alone, I feel like I'm taking the best care of myself because I never do. It's hard. Yeah.
right. And when you're alone, do sometimes you just sit down and just relax, or you just take a moment to try not to think about anything at all.
I barely sit. I barely sit down. It's just 24/7. The time I do get
Nonstop,
alone,
huh?
I want to watch Dateline.
There you go, right? That's one of my favorite shows as well.
Yeah.
So what
My
you
oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
No,
No, go
no, my
ahead.
son for Mother's Day sent home like a little thing he made in school saying how my mom likes laying in bed watching Dateline. I'm like, I do. I didn't realize that. I do. So I do get some self alone time. Not all the time, but if I
Right?
am in bed before they get to bed, which they sleep with me, it's I'm watching that, and then they'll watch it with me before we fall asleep. So, but I like that. That's my self care.
Well, you know what, and that's great because it shows you that your he's aware, right? He
Yeah,
sees
he
that
is.
mom's trying to take some downtime. She's trying to utilize a relaxing activity to for self-care. Focus on the positivity. Your son sees that you're putting the effort into it. You know what I mean? And he's sharing that great information at school by saying, "Look, mom does great by laying down and watching Dateline. That's awesome." So he sees, the importance of recharging, and that way mom can get up and enjoy those activities later. Some other things, making sleep a priority. So, like you mentioned, you might not get necessarily enough time to kind of sit down and recharge. again, like we talked about, a few weeks ago, maybe,
Yeah.
adjusting that schedule and then trying to kind of, rearrange and put some me time in there. And that'll be a good way of taking care
Got
of
it.
yourself.
Thank you.
That'll,
Thank you. Thank you.
like they say on the
What's your
airplane, put your
self-care?
mask on
Go ahead.
first before you help somebody else.
It's true. Put that oxygen mask on first, they say, right? That's the whole. Hmm.
Right.
Tell us what your
Yeah.
self-care is. Just curious.
For me, so get up about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the
Oh,
morning,
nice.
work out. I have two German Shepherds, so walk them around the neighborhood. So that way it helps their self-care. So it's kind of like I'm investing in them, they're investing in me. That team concept there. So make sure that they're good to go and then to come back home. And then if I have time or if I remember, try to start out with a nice breakfast, but that doesn't always happen that
No, I hear you. That's good. So
way.
you have a little routine and you try to help people establish. Like you're asking me questions like, what is your, but I don't know. I don't know.
Right,
Maybe we need some help with
right.
this. And hence you're the
Yeah,
one to
absolutely.
support us with this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, so one of the other things about self-care again is identifying that social support system. So, we like to encourage folks that, here's an exercise. Urge folks to reach out, find a friend or family member for a heart-to-heart conversation. Like I mentioned before, sometimes you may start a conversation by saying, "Hey, how are you doing?" But whether you actually care or not, or you're just going through the custom and courtesies of asking how someone's doing, that may be the beginning of setting the foundation of a social support system. So, actually figuring that out, share feelings and concerns, and then open to experience the power of authentic connection versus the connection via the phone. You send a message, you reply back when you feel like it. Oh, I don't feel like talking to them, and you put that down.
Hmm.
That's not really a good connection. I mean, you're connected, but it's not fluid. It's not going back and forth. You know what I mean? So that human face-to-face conversation and interaction is still important.
Got it. All right. Well, what else do you want to make sure we cover with this? I mean, 'cause it's still more to the topic, right? Socially. So
Um,
what do you suggest to people? Explain it to us. How do we break this down?
Well, it's an easy way you want to incorporate these strategies into your lives, right? To enhance your resilience. Again, you can't mention enough about how to express gratitude for the opportunity to share, valuable insights with people. Ask for feedback. Sometimes, people they may spare your feelings when having a conversation. They may listen, but they may not give you direct and honest feedback. If you really searching for that self-care and that social support system is, you want to practice saying, hey, you know what? How about you give me some honest feedback? How do you think I could possibly improve? But you got to be careful as well because when you solicit that feedback,
Yeah.
you don't want it from a person that's going to use that opportunity. Like, I've been waiting a long time to tell you this, and they just kind of tear you down a little bit. You want to make sure that you're not doing that. So you have to be careful with that.
All right. Well, remind us at this time or halfway through how we can contact you, please.
Contact me at realorlive.org. You can send me an email, atfc@realorlive.org. You can also reach out via the website and contact me for a free consultation. You can reach me on Connect. And you can also reach me on bark.com if you're looking for a coach getting out there and trying to, make sure that I'm easily accessible throughout the social networking.
And just so people know a little bit of your background, you're a certified coach. Could you just share a little bit of that before we continue for
A-
today?
Absolutely. Certified coach through the Maxwell Leadership Certified Team, also a DISC consultant. And a corporate facilitator as well. So I try to help out in the corporate realm anywhere that there's leadership that needs to be sharpened and developed. Remember, steel sharpens steel. So that's one of the things I want to make sure that we get out there and some upcoming things for this summer to be on the lookout for some specials and deals on the website. So just kind of frequent with the website to watch out for those deals.
Got it. All right. Well, let's go back to the grind here. And as far as, for today's show, what else did you want to kind of guide your listeners with about the coaching process, why it's important, and of course, how you can help with the changing the mindset and the benefit of changing the mindset and what can happen then?
Well, what I would, if possible, maybe offer you a consultation right here now. And if
Sure.
there's something that you possibly use, maybe we can kind of run through that and kind of show them how this would work. If you
Go
have a
for
few
it.
minutes for
Bring it
that.
on.
So
What's
I
the
mean,
first question? I'm now
no, so
nervous.
uh, no, 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 it's a consultation. So you've just clicked on the website, you've clicked on the, hey, I'm going to talk to Cottrell, and let's see if there's something that he can help me out with. What would something not too difficult, but something simple that you may or may not would like to ask a coach for a free consultation.
My problem is time management,
Okay,
110%. I think I might have mentioned that before. It's
a little
about
bit.
leaving piles around my house, not being able to finish one task by going into the next. And I always feel like I don't have enough time. And it weighs on me because there's so much I can accomplish. And one thing I always say is if I didn't have my kids living with me, I could get things done. And I love my kids, but they're
Right.
time wasters. They absorb every second of my morning and then my afternoon and evening, So after they get home from school, then I get home from work. It's just like they're yeah, but I can't get rid of my kids. That's horrible, and I wouldn't want to. Um, so I'm definitely challenged with this situation for sure.
Oh, that's and that sounds like something that most of us are challenged with throughout these days, and it's a great example. So some things I would ask is just looking at the extracurricular activities. Are they into sports? Are they into cooking, different things of that nature? And if they
Yeah.
are you the one taking them to all the games and activities? Is that how it's? Oh wow, yeah. So that makes for a busy time, huh?
Hey, it's better than last year. Last year we had two soccers, we had lacrosse, we had baseball. So it was 7 days a week. We're down to only 2 to 3 days a week. It's so much better. So I feel a lot
Oh,
better about I'm not as stressed, which is good. And now
right.
we got it down to one, just the summer to fall is just going to be football. Oh, and then basketball. But then the other one's not playing anything anymore. So I got one child out of um, the one sport he was in. He doesn't want to do it. He's more into cooking. He's more into uh, arts and crafts. But the other
Okay.
one now at least is lowering his sports intake. I'm like, you got to decide. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was definitely a huge factor. It still is. It's not as
Right.
bad though. So I feel like that's going to subside soon.
So there's progress then. There's definitely
Absolutely.
progress.
Yes.
Well, and that's example. That's awesome. And so it shows that naturally, right? You're naturally progressing. So something may have transpired over the last year or so, whether it was one too many sports, maybe not the best in every sport. Maybe get a little bit more focused on what you may be good at to kind of hone those skills down a little bit. And those are some awesome things as well as, with the kids is, hey, look, maybe not every sport, but what's something that may pique your interest that, you don't have to necessarily be involved in everything, but what's something that you really like enjoying doing? And so that's something that you can do to kind of, get buy-in from the kids, so they can understand that, hey, look, maybe not spread yourself so thin. You can, instead of teaching them at a young age to become a master of all,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Jack of all trades, master of none. So maybe you can just teach them at an earlier age to kind of focus on one skill and craft or the importance of the roles and responsibilities of that sport to give themselves directly to that team. And not necessarily that deep, but just breaks down, things that's relatable and kind of relate that to the home life. Just like you're, part of that team, you have roles and responsibilities. Whereas a basketball, you're the
Yeah.
forward or the point guard. At home, you're going to be the forward or the point guard. You're in charge of taking care of the pantry, or you're in charge of making sure the items are labeled in the cabinet. So however you want to be, still kind of bring that team concept home and still makes them feel a part of doing something. And believe it or not, that's something that tends to help out. As long as you get buy-in from the adults, of course, depending on how many adults in the house, because you want to make sure everybody's on the same page, obviously. So that way you can get that information out. So that's one way to go about doing it. And
Okay.
then the other thing is that social support system that we talked about. Maybe switching days with different parents on the team. That way it allows you a little bit more freedom or a little bit more time to get home and kind of reflect and, go back to that time, that self-care time that you needed. So that's something that you can do with that social support system. So those are a few
But
things
then
that
I
can help.
hate asking for help. I'm sure you met people like this. It's like I feel bad asking for
Absolutely.
help, right?
Yeah, and that would be the thing, right? Is so why do you feel bad asking for help? So that would be even a bigger problem. You have to get to the real underlying reason of why you don't want to ask for help, and then how does that benefit you? Does it hurt you? Does it help you? Just some things again, eye-opening questions as far as for,
Yeah.
why you don't want to ask for help.
Well, I do. You know what? I know what it is. My sister has always kind of like bashed me for Well, being a single mom and acting like, well, I did it. I'm like, but you had a husband, you had well, I don't understand why you think it's okay. And she tells me like all the time, well, it's just bizarre. I'm like, well, because I'm always alone with them. And so I want to do something. If I want to go out, I shouldn't feel guilty. She's like, well, I never left my kids. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm like over. So I ask for help. And then it becomes, oh, I'm not going to watch your kids so you get your nails done or for you to go out. That's ridiculous. I don't go
Right,
out. So she kind of put a sour taste in like, am I doing something wrong? Am I a bad parent? I know I'm a great parent, but I feel like bad asking because well, I can't ask her anymore. Let's put it that way. But I'm like, oh, am
right.
I doing something wrong? Should I not be asking to get help with my kids? My mom passed away. I don't have her. I'm like, so I think it's a matter of always feeling bad because my sister made me feel bad.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that kind of goes back to what we started with, the mindset shift, right? So we've identified it, and it's not to talk bad about your sister, but
Yeah.
that probably means, it needs to go down to number three, which is that social support system. So typically what you find, right? And I'll say this just from a military background is, so in the military, we traveled a lot. A lot of our spouses were left home alone with the kids, and our families didn't understand it either. Hey, we raised our kids by ourselves. We did this by ourselves. Well,
Mm-hmm.
okay, congratulations. But that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody else has to go through that, or may less be built for that. So what we had in the military was that community, that strong family bond, where it was like a spousal support system, or there was always some type of support system that was out there. Now, whether people use it or not, I can't say whether I can either
Yeah.
confirm or deny. But the point of it was the support system was there, and I think that's something that more or less a lot of folks need is a strong support system. It's unfortunate that you have people to say, "Well, I did it this way, so how come you can't do it?" Or we did it that way. Well, you did it that way, and that's why you're a little bit more bitter, and you're holding me to a higher standard than
Yeah.
what you had to do. You understand you went through that, so hopefully I shouldn't have to go through that. But
Mm-hmm.
again, it goes back to the social support system, and like they say, more or less who you surround yourself with. And unfortunately, friends or family might not always be the best group of folks. And I think people are starting to realize that in
Guilty.
2024 after the COVID. So I think that's definitely an eye opener for you. But thanks for sharing. I appreciate
Oh,
that.
thank you. But the other thing I think you taught me, we talked about was because when you told me you got up so early in the morning, I'm like, that's how I can help with my time. I have to be more disciplined to get my butt up earlier before my kids, which I'm so lazy now. I don't. I spent 20 years getting up at 2, 3 a.m. And I feel like the past like 5 years, I don't have that schedule anymore. I'm actually catching up on sleep. I feel like $1 million. So I have to go for someone who spent so much time getting up at 2 in the morning to work. It's like I can't do it anymore. Uh, I know I can, but I don't want to. But I know I can if I start little small increments, even if it's a half hour to get up earlier. I've tried. I was successful a little bit, but it hasn't lasted long. But I know I could do that
Right.
to help. And I figured that part out. I can get more done if I get up, obviously. So I think I have to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When I retired, I had the same mindset. I used to get up all the time at 2:30, 3 o'clock, go work out. And then when I retired, the first thing you say is, I'm definitely not doing that anymore. And then
Yeah.
after a while, maybe 6 months in, it's like, hey, I feel awful. I need to get back to I mean, 20 years of doing something, it was, you have to kind of
Yeah.
deprogram yourself not to anymore. But some of the things I miss and some of the things I felt were good. So I just pick and choose some of the things I'm willing to deal with. I'm ready to get up at 2:30 in the morning to do something versus
I
sit in
love.
traffic at
Well,
7:45 for an hour and
that's when we
45
do little
minutes.
vacations, staycations. I'll get up early. Like that's the way it goes. Airports, I want to be the
Right,
first one there. I want to, if we ever travel,
right.
like, or I hate traffic. Oh my gosh. Where do you live again?
I'm in San Antonio, Texas.
How, oh my, I've been there. I drove past, well, one time I went to the Riverwalk, right? That's probably so, and the Alamo, like, that's probably you're gonna
Right.
laugh at me because that's so ridiculous. But I was working in Dallas and I drove down to Austin and to San Antonio to check it out. So of course I stopped at the tourist trap. Sorry.
Right,
Um,
right.
but so traffic in your area is bad as well. I guess any city like that, right?
Yeah, the area is overpopulated now.
Mm-hmm.
Infrastructure was not necessarily designed for the influx of people that are here, but so they're playing catch up, and the people are steady coming in, and it's not slowing down. And yeah. So you exchange one thing for the next. San Antonio is not as much city life as Chicago was, but it's growing and it has its things. But again, we just adapt and overcome, and figure out ways to adjust, find that external motivation to do things. And sometimes we have to find that internal motivation to do and make it benefit us. You know what I mean? As far as self-care wise.
Thank you. All right. Well, we're just about done. What else? How else can we reach you? What else did you want to share before we go? My goodness.
Uh, you can reach me via cell phone 210-724-4474. Reach out via email atfc@realalive.org, and of course through social platforms, bark.com and then also minet.com. So those are two more other platforms that we're trying to get out there and kind of get some things moving on.
Aw. Well, thank you. And if someone wants to reach out, do you offer initial consultation?
That's at realorlive.org, and we can definitely set up that free consultation and get you kind of started off on your summer on the right path.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.